I first found out about you like everybody from all the hits that you co-wrote from other people. What was the first cut that you got that kind of made you go, okay, things are going to be totally fine, or at least fine for the next year or two?
Well, like 1995, 1994, I was about 21 years old, and Mark Miller of a group named Sawyer Brown uh, let me co-write a song with him, and uh, it turned out that they put it out as a single, and it went up to top five on Billboard, and it really kind of helped me. It helped me get a big foot in the door to where I knew I could stay here for a while.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure of, managing some people who are co-writers, talking with a lot of people who are co-writers, but some people actually hate the term co-writer. In your case, do you like it or hate it?
I love it. I always needed help. I don't do well on my own. I have ADD, and I'm very distracted. And then just and I always wanted to move to Nashville to be around other people with like minded, because where I came from in Vero Beach, Florida, I was by myself all the time, and there was nobody to bounce off of. And I couldn't wait to get up to a place to where I could meet people that thought the same thing, or maybe had the same kind of things in mind, or I could bounce off of. It was like a school, because there was no school where I come from growing up. So it was I wanted to learn. I didn't know anything.
Well, some of the co-writers I've spoken to have a bit of a specialty. By that I mean some of them may not play any instruments nor sing, but they're a vibes person. They're in the room to make the good hang happen that facilitates the writing. What's your specialty? Do you bring the music, the lyrics, or actually the vibes?
Well, I want to bring all of
Yeah. But
it. I
to
mean,
clarify, you're a music first person?
sometimes, yeah, guitar is my love and passion of life since I was a kid. I can bring the music. All the music comes easy. Um, but I'm a song. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer.
Okay.
So,
Well, where I'm going with that is some people, every song they do is entirely the same creative process. They go, I get the song title, then the song gets written. But it sounds like each project for you is an entirely different thing.
yeah, songs are fragile entities, and they're fragile. So the uh, I tell people, to be a good songwriter, you have to know what a good song is to begin with. If you don't know what a good song is, you're probably not going to write a good song.
Learn from the greats, keep learning. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, yes, yes. Like, I got to spend a few days at Merle Haggard's house, and all he talked about was songs of the 40s and 30s and 40s and how they were written. He studied it all, and that guy maybe one of the best American singer songwriters, definitely in country music. But he studied. He wasn't talking about anything of himself. He studied the past like nobody's business,
Hmm.
and so that's probably one of the greatest. And you can only, that's the only way to learn.
Right. Some people that you speak with who are co-writers are super in the background, not on social media. Others are thinking about their business deals. They're putting themselves out there at the parties, wearing jewelry, etc. You're kind of the low key guy. Is that by design or just coincidence because you're not a social media fan?
Well, I've got a couple of nice watches.
Sure, but you're not on social media going, check out my new watch. And here's my new
No,
cut on the new Shooter Jennings album.
no, 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 not really. I don't think it's. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of like. It's just probably. So far, it ain't my style. I don't. I don't. I know it's the way to get out there, but I don't know if so far I'm not selling anything, you know.
That makes sense to me. And you mentioned before your first cut being Sawyer Brown, and I know you had Toby Keith cuts. Does that mean that you were almost an investor in TNA professional wrestling?
I remember going with him to Huntsville, Alabama, doing a wrestling thing. He did on TV. It was funny.
Yeah, and I hear that paid off for him, but that's not the point. We're talking about you. And one of the things that you've done in recent years is that Hitmakers tour. More activity coming up from that, or is everything on hold due to COVID and the uncertainties of touring?
I don't know. I do a number of private shows and things. People call me to play. It's not slowed down for me that much at all. I mean, last year was a weird thing for everybody, but no, I mean, I'm always picking and playing somewhere, you know, just small. But as far as the Hitmakers thing, I think the way we got introduced together was through Even Stevens.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've done a number of his things up in Ohio and Indiana, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I hope to do it again.
So it sounds like all it takes is somebody offering you a project that sounds interesting, and then you come out and you do it. It's not like this 10-year plan and, oh, I have to get 4 cuts this year.
No, nothing's planned for me.
Right. So, for example, this week, did you do any writing or no?
Yeah, Jake Owen and I were in the studio. We're doing a project called the Cannabis Cowboys.
Wow.
And it's a song called Cannabis Cowboy. And Jake Owen and I are doing this duet, this little side project we're doing. And it's going to be about 4 or 5 songs, and we're going to put it out there and market it in a way and use his stardom, if you will, to put it out and see what happens. It's a fun little thing, but you'll enjoy the song. It's called the Cannabis Cowboy.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. And one song of yours that intrigues me to no end, that I've seen nothing ever said publicly about, is the song that you and Dave Lee Roth wrote called One Piece Thermo-Molded Country Plastic Chair. Do you have great memories about that one?
Yeah, meeting him was wild. I was friends with his bus driver.
What?
And it was yes. His bus driver was a lady named Valerie, and she used to drive the bus for Blake Shelton. And so Blake Shelton was for a year or two was on a Toby tour, and I was out there all the time on the whole thing. And so she ended up leaving Blake Shelton's deal years ago, and then she was a driver for David Lee Roth, and she drove his bus. Well, they called me one day years later on the phone, and David Lee Roth wanted some really good cowboy boots. Well, she called me knowing that I would probably know where to get some, and inadvertently she played him some of my songs and stuff, and he asked if he could fly me out to LA and record, and he wanted me to bring a couple guitars, and I didn't know anything, so I didn't know what to expect. And I met him, and he just was like, go out there on the studio floor and just play whatever. And so I was like, just play. And so I just played off the top of my head guitar chord progression, and I saw him he had these lyrics that he was like that he had printed out, and he was sifting through, and he came up with all that, and I was just like, okay. That's how I met him. It was just one day.
I think you just answered 2 questions for me. The first one was, in the video that he posted of the song of the music video, it says special thanks to Valerie Wren. Is that Valerie the bus driver?
Yeah. She's the one that got a hold of me, and David Lee Roth, he flew me out and wanted me to, do some kind of musical thing with him. So that was how that was. It was just one day.
And then
probably the only time and the last time I ever seen that guy.
Okay, then that led to another question that about 90 seconds in, there's a little bit of a flub on the guitar. And you go, wait a second. So Dave loves imperfections in little things, and then talking about the imperfections. That would kind of explain that maybe it was like a one or two take thing right there.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even listen to it again, so I didn't hear any flubs. But I'm sure I'm a error. I'm laden with error.
Wow. So you played a thing on the guitar, he had the lyrics, and then I guess he formulated the whole thing together. I'm really impressed because it sounds like a very much an emotional song that was put together, not a one or two take thing per se.
I didn't, be honest with you, in that I didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, I just played the chord progression, and he put whatever he had to it. You know, he didn't ask me any other way. You know, so it wasn't too much of a collaboration.
Wow. So the song
It was
gets
a strange deal. You know,
the song gets done and put out through his web series. Did you ever get a notice of, hey, FYI from Team Dave, it's out? Or you just heard, hey, it's out?
yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear anything much.
Wow. And so there was no back and forth with the publisher. It's just, it came out, you did it years ago, and you move forward.
Yeah, I think he paid me for the day, and after that, I mean, I have my end of the publishing. I never saw any money from it, anything, but there was no money to be had from it. You know, nothing ever came of that. So.
Wow. I'm going to guess, though, because every country artist or songwriter I've ever spoken with, except for one, was this. You were a big Van Halen fan growing up.
No, I wasn't, but I do remember Jump. I remember people older than me had Jump and the little baby. I mean, I remember the Cigarette Baby with Wings, Angel Wings. I mean, I remember the album, you know. But no, I grew up on country music, but I knew about Motley Crue. I knew about Van Halen. I knew about Duran Duran. I knew about a number of pop records and things like that. And to me, rock and roll, hard rock roll was Leonard Skinner. By the time I got into Southern rock, I was very traditional country, but I knew about them. I knew about them as a child. I was 82, so I was 9 years old. I knew about that.
Wow, so now it's officially two country artists or songwriters who were not diehard Van Halen fans. So thank you for adding to that list, Scotty. So that's really an impressive co-writing story where you recorded something, it went away, you didn't really think about it again, no one was up your case about that. Are there other things that you've recorded over the years or written over the years rather that you did that, the person cut it, and you didn't think about it again?
I will tell you this, talking about Van Halen, I've gotten to be around Sammy Hagar a few times in San Francisco, where he's from, and Toby Keith and Sammy Hagar are friends, and that's how Toby has a place in Cabo. Sammy was one of the first ones to ever go to Cabo and live there, you know. But I've been around, speaking of Van Halen of all things, I've been around Sammy Hagar a few times, and he's a wonderful fellow. Really, really sweet, great dude. I can say that.
So if you're around him and you're around Toby, that means you hang around a lot of musician, entrepreneur, restaurateurs.
Yeah, you know, Doc Sierra. We've been around some restaurant people like that. Yeah.
And ultimately, you've been very successful as a songwriter, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down on any end. Do you have any side hustles or projects, or is it all about the music for you?
Yeah, I don't do anything on the side.
Huh.
I try to seek out good weather somewhere. That's my side. My side hustle is sunshine.
Side hustle is sunshine. That might be a cut, so write that one down. But so if I have it straight, you do the hit makers thing when you hear from the good folks out there. If somebody wants you for a gig, you're around. If somebody wants you for a co-write, you're around. That's pretty much it.
That's about it.
And happy about it.
And happy. The simple life is a life for me, a man and a wife, and a glass of tea.
And the last question related to all that and all this, unless I missed anything, was this really the plan all along to have this kind of life? Because it sounds like you're living the life that most people want to.
Yeah, I don't know about other people, and I don't. I just followed down my passion and what I want to do, and I never worried about where it's going to take me as long as I just followed it down. I think I was always maybe reminded that it would take care of me if I was true to it. So I don't know. There's other paths that are really hard to predict, and they're really hard for anybody else to say what's going to happen. Nobody knows. And so far, I've been very fortunate and blessed.
#blessed, as the kids say on social media.
Well, thank you, man. And thanks for calling. I really enjoyed meeting you.
My pleasure, man. I'll send you a link when this is posted and all that. Take care, man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guy.